I just got a pair of the new MINIRIG 4 speakers, and in this video I'm going to show you everything that's new, compare it to the MINIRIG 3s, and tell you whether it's worth upgrading. Let's get into it. The MINIRIG 4s retail for £150 in the UK where they're made, or are available for $200 a piece on Amazon here in the US. The packaging and zippered cases are identical to the MINIRIG 3s, but once you take them out, there are some obvious changes. On the Gen 4s, the power button turns on with a quick press and now shows you the connection status instead of battery level. On either side are volume buttons that let you directly control the level right on the speaker, which is a big upgrade, but I wish the markings were easier to see. There's now 4 LED lights that show you the status of the speaker. When it turns on or you shake the speaker, it shows the battery level. When you adjust the volume, they show the volume level. When playing music, you have the option for these to act as a VU meter that bounces along with the beat. And when Bluetooth or stereo pairing, it gives you the status of the connection. The MINIRIG 4s have a larger 50-watt amplifier. That powers a custom 70mm cone driver with a stated frequency response of 60 to 18,000 Hz. It supports Bluetooth 5.0 with AAC and has a microphone for hands-free calling. There's a pair of 3.5mm jacks on the side to plug in your phone, laptop, or DJ deck for zero latency playback, and they can be used to daisy chain more MINIRIGs or a subwoofer. Inside, there's a beefy battery that can power this for up to 100 hours at low volume and 5 hours on max. They say to expect around 30 hours of average runtime, and that feels about right for listening to them around 40 to 60% where they sound best. It has a rigid aluminum tube enclosure with metal grille and plastic end caps to protect the driver. It feels super solid and weighs 560 grams or just under 20 ounces. With the MINIRIG 3, you know how fiddly and unreliable stereo pairing could be. With the MINIRIG 4, all of that has changed, and stereo pairing is now quick, easy, and surprisingly reliable. You first pair one of the speakers with Bluetooth. To stereo pair, turn on the second speaker and long press the volume up button until you hear a chime. Then you do the same thing on the main speaker and they'll sync up within a few seconds. You can also link up an unlimited number of speakers with the same procedure, but use the volume down button instead, and they'll all connect in mono. Once a stereo pair, I found the connection to be incredibly reliable, even when 20 feet apart or more. There are some occasional dropouts, but they're few and far between. There's some nice touches when paired. If you shut one off, the other will too. To reconnect them as a stereo pair, just turn both on within a few seconds of each other and they'll automatically link back up. It doesn't always work, but it's quick to use the volume up buttons to resync them if needed. With a stereo pair, you get a wide and deep soundstage with lots of detail and separation between instruments. If you're thinking about getting MINIRIGs, I'd suggest saving up and getting 2. One of my biggest complaints with the MINIRIG 3 was the proprietary USB cable that had a barrel connector on the end for some strange reason, but now they've switched to USB-C. It supports USB-C power delivery, which means it can charge at up to 20 watts, which is 4 times faster than the MINIRIG 3, and it can work as a power bank, but in my tests I found that it struggled to charge my iPhone 15, so I think that feature needs some work. There's an all-new app for the MINIRIG 4s that's much more streamlined and reliable than the last version. On main screen, there's bass, treble, and volume sliders to adjust the sound, and basic playback controls at the bottom. In the settings area, you can adjust things like standby time and LED brightness, and update the firmware. So how do the MINIRIG 4s sound? MINIRIGs have always had a really neutral audiophile sound that's really easy to listen to across lots of different kinds of music. The 4th generation is even better with a smoother, more balanced sound from a refined DSP and upgraded 50-watt amp that gives it more headroom so it sounds less distorted and harsh at higher volumes. Sound comparisons always sound a little bit like garbage on YouTube because of the compression, but here are some samples of the MINIRIG 3 versus MINIRIG 4 and the larger and more expensive Marshall Stockwell II, so you can see how they sound.
From the top, we're gonna be 2 hearts running wild. Now the morning is the afternoon. We lay awake in bed. We got a party for a life.
I don't know about you, but I was surprised at just how bad the Marshall Stockwell II compared to either one of the mini-rigs. It was a muddy, distorted mess with really bad mid-range. The differences between the MINIRIG 3 and 4 are definitely more subtle, but I would say the 4 sounds much better across the board with a cleaner and more accurate and more audiophile sound. I feel like the biggest improvement in the MINIRIG 4s is the clarity and detail in the lower mid-range. When I A/B tested these against the MINIRIG 3s, I noticed that vocals, whether they're male or female, had more depth and richness and sounded a lot more natural. The 3s, by comparison, sounded a little bit thin. Looking at the frequency response, you can see there's 2 to 3 decibels more in the 800 to 1500 Hz region, which really makes vocals and guitars pop out of the mix. They're also improved with more texture and smoothness. Vocals and guitars definitely are less harsh and sibilant, and there was better impact with snares. It seems they've backed off the 4 to 10,000 Hz band by a couple decibels, so they sound less tinny, and they added a little lift around 14,000 for some sparkle. They also cleaned up the upper bass in the 150 to 400 Hz region, so you tend to hear deeper bass because it isn't overshadowed by boominess, but that does mean that it may not sound quite as bassy as the 3s with certain tracks. Here's a couple more tracks for comparison. Let me know down in the comments if you're hearing the same things I am.
I wanna take it all in, I'm falling. The cityscape by night, wanna catch in my photos. Where you go, every corner twice as bright. They'll be my treasures forever. When I can't hold you tight, I'll see the Stockholm lights. The Stockholm lights, the Stockholm lights. I'm never gonna look back, 'cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change, slowly take a step today. I will never be the same, 'cause that's what it takes.
These are small tweaks to an already great sound profile, but together they give you a much more dynamic and natural sound that's very close to my Genelec Studio monitors. At low levels, these sound good, but I wish it had more of an aggressive loudness circuit that would boost the treble and bass so that it would sound richer when listening to quietly. Although bass is surprisingly good for such a small speaker, the Sub 3 is a good addition to this system. It doesn't dig too deep, but it rounds out the sound nicely. Unfortunately, you're stuck with a wired connection between the MINIRIG 4 and Sub. The biggest problem with the Sub is it doesn't have volume controls. There's a button that lets you switch between low and high level input, but I found it was a Goldilocks situation where low wasn't loud enough and loud was way too much. If you get the Sub, I recommend you pick up an inline volume controller like this one. It was $15 and is really well built with an aluminum enclosure and smooth knob. This isn't an amplifier. There's no batteries or power. It just allows you to turn the signal down, so I set the Sub at high input and use this to dial in the sound. Around 50 to 60% is the sweet spot for me, and it sounds amazing when calibrated just right. As you can see, there's a lot of wires, so I usually don't hook up the Sub unless I'm using it at a desk. I really hope they come out with a 4th generation Sub that's wireless and has volume controls on it. That would be killer. I always felt the MINIRIG sounded a bit flat when pointed up, so it's cool they include an option to automatically boost the highs when placed in this orientation, thanks to a built-in accelerometer. It's a pretty subtle effect, but it works. Personally, I still prefer to aim these at my ears because they sound miles better on axis. You can stick them in their zippered cases to angle them towards you, and that helps, but it looks kind of messy and isn't adjustable. My friend Eric designed these super slick MINIRIG stands that allow you to angle them in 2 dimensions, tilt and direction, to aim them right at your ears. Not only are they a beautiful minimal design, they improve the sound dramatically. He also designed a simpler stand that's more affordable and compact. If you're interested in these, I'll include an Etsy link in the description. So as you can tell, I am very impressed with the MINIRIG 4s. They've improved everything I could have wished for from the 3s, and now they offer beautiful audiophile sound in a tiny package with basically endless battery life, and are perfect for anyone who's really into hi-fi sound in a portable package. If you can afford it, get a pair because stereo makes a huge difference in sound quality. So what do you think? Did they make all the improvements that you would have wished for? Let me know what your MINIRIG setup is down in the comments. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Till next time.